Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gargoyles episode reviews. Today we're looking at Double Jeopardy. Goliath is laughing maniacally in the night and spending his days atop the Erie building's tallest tower. Or is he? Severius is betraying Xanatos by paying off mercenaries to kidnap the stone Goliath from the castle. Or is he? Xanatos is going to have a new minion, one who will be loyal and obedient. Or is he? Things aren't as they seem in this episode. When you play God, you often summon the devil. If you missed last week's episode, you didn't miss much, so you can just read or listen to today's. If you're still curious, it's Revelations. Spoilers in the 2020 moments, and probably scattered throughout this episode, apparently. And info from Ask Greg is in the According to Greg bits. This Season 2, Episode 16, Double Jeopardy. Reasons for Existence. To explore the idea of nature and nurture, creating a person's personality and affecting their behavior. To develop Xanatos' ongoing interest in creating his own gargoyles/minions. To explore what a clone is in relation to the original. To introduce a formidable new villain. To show that even Xanatos can be too smart for his own good. Main antagonists are Severius and Thalog. Times, November 28th through the 29th, 1995. So I guess we just sort of skipped right over Thanksgiving. Locations, New York City, New York. Double Jeopardy. Title card. And we open on the Erie building with a big storm overhead, or at least some dark clouds. Starting out with Team Xanatos, yes. Previously on Gargoyles. The Steel Clan is no match for the Stone Clan. Severius makes the mutates, but he's totally capable of making a clone. Only problem, lack of raw materials. Or so he says. Just a scratch. We open on the Erie building. No establishing shot makes me happier. This is a year ago, November 1994. In the storage rooms within the castle, a Steel Clan robot awakens. You can hear Elisa talking with Goliath, telling him he needs to jump ship before the ship's captain comes back. Santos will be out of jail soon. This is the writer's excellent way of telling new viewers, and reminding us old viewers who might have forgotten in the intervening 20-some episodes, what was going on at this time last year. It also shows that even when Xanatos is locked away, he's as much of a threat as ever. Elisa is surprised when the bot pops up. She thought Goliath destroyed them all. Yeah, because Xanatos sure can't make any more. And there's a row of 4 of them with cloths or dust covers over them. It's even funnier because there are 5 bots under Goliath and Elisa, and there's the 5th one pulling the cloth off itself, and its eyes are glowing red. The robot blasts through the ceiling and launches out. It's now right in front of Goliath and Elisa. You know, those things are pretty hardcore if they can go through stone floor/ceiling. Goliath makes short work of it, but not before it scratches him across the arm. Elisa freaks out over the scratches. They're just 3 little 3 to 4 inch long lines. Chill out. Goliath has taken laser blasts, fallen off roofs, been hit in by falling masonry, etc. He'll live. Conveniently, Owen appears with the first aid kit. I don't know where his office is in relation to Goliath's location, but he arrives in record time. Also, I'm not sure why he cares about Goliath's scratches. I mean, he's the one advocating for taking the sledgehammer to the Gargs when they're asleep. His boss set a whole team of robots on them. Elisa jumps his case, saying he's got some explaining to do. He gives a vague explanation about a freak overload in its power matrix, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Somehow, I doubt it, mate. And Goliath is not looking happy about Owen getting anywhere near him. I think Owen probably just wants to poison him. Anyhow, he puts some antiseptic on the scratches. It's pretty much pointless, though, because the rain starts pouring. Elisa, are you really holding Goliath's hand? And does no one have the sense to get inside when it rains? A dark and stormy night. So that rain segues us nicely to the present day. And there's the Ford Fairlane at night. Back to the present, November 1995. Elisa is driving along the cliffs in another storm. It's the same road that Matt tried to drive them off of last episode. Overhead, Broadway and Lexington are playing wingmen. Apparently an anonymous tipster said the power plant was going to melt down. There are some power plants that are in New York City, so it's believable. What's not believable is Elisa's response. First off, thus far, every anonymous tip that we know of that she's received in this series has been from Owen, and they're all designed to manipulate the Gargoyles. Second, if the power plant is going to melt down, she's going to need to mobilize a lot more than herself and 2 Gargoyles. Nuke power plants are serious business. They have security teams that put spec ops to shame, and I am not kidding here. If one of those suckers melts down, it has global ramifications. In the background of this shot is an oil rig. Something swoops down from the stormy sky to grab Lex's ankle. It's like being in the ocean and then having something touch your foot. Freak-outs ensue. Lex drops his headset, which I guess is waterproof since he's out in the rain with it. Elisa stops the car. On a cliff overlooking the road, lightning strikes, silhouetting Goliath. He laughs maniacally in the storm. Okay. Did Goliath mistake November for April 1st? Strike a pose. And there he is with his wings out, looking quite intimidating. We don't know if Elisa finished investigating the nuclear reactor that's supposed to go critical, or if she decided that investigating Goliath being a jerk was more important. Now, later, at Genutech, Severius is paying off a villain from James Bond Jr. No, seriously, he looks like one from that. It's not chump change either. It's $50K, which, okay, back in 95 was a lot more than it is now. Wow, what part of the budget did that come from? Asset recovery? The mercenary wants to do whatever he's supposed to do at night. Severius warns him not to. And there's Severius in his lab, and there's some monkeys in the cages behind him. Get those in a different room. Like, I don't want to be sitting with those. And the mercenary has green armor or something on, and has orange sunglasses or orange visor. At the clock tower, Goliath and Brooklyn still aren't back. The sun rises. Airlift. We cut to the castle, to Goliath's favorite parapet. Wait, Goliath is on it? Again? What? Xanatos is in the courtyard with Owen, admiring the stone gargoyle. It's nice to have him guarding the castle, Santos says. Owen agrees. And there's the boys looking up. Now, the boys might think this is cool, but what does Fox think about having a garg hanging around the castle? Like, is it an outside gargoyle, or does he come inside? It's kind of awkward. They head inside, with Owen launching into the day's agenda. The Emir, who was mentioned as meeting Xanatos in the Edge, is having trouble meeting David's deadline. We don't know what for. I doubt it's anything innocuous, though, since they've mentioned it twice now. Chopper rotors interrupt him, though. Santos sprints outside to find a helicopter hovering over Goliath and loading him into the cargo hold. That is never something you want to see in your castle. And Santos is not happy about this, got his fist clenched. Owen is always the first to grab a weapon, and today is no different. He snags David's favorite right laser rifle from its secret panel in the wall. I swear this castle's mass is composed of at least 40% weapons, and you'll see that as the story or the series progresses. Santos stops him before the security chief can get a shot off. The gargoyle must not be damaged, he says. Come on, David, you got to shoot the rifle. Note the X on the back of the secret compartment. That will never stop amusing me. Life goals, having a secret panel that hides a laser rifle and has your initial behind it. Well, Owen is dashed. Is this a plan you've neglected to mention? He asks. I was fortunately not eating or drinking during this scene because I would have choked. It's so meta, too. David's got at least 4 schemes in the works at all times, so the idea that one might have slipped through the cracks is possible. Okay, for the entire episode, Owen will basically be snark or sarcasm incarnate, and there he is, kind of giving Xanatos that narrowed-eyed glare. I love seeing Owen and David interact when nobody else is around. Their snark level increases by a factor of 10. Owen isn't the silent servant who literally bows to his master's orders anymore. David isn't painfully polite either. Their respect for each other is still high, but it takes a different form. They're straight with each other. Xanatos treats Owen as an equal, and Owen isn't afraid to offer criticisms and ask questions. We see this kind of relationship with protags or heroes fairly frequently. For example, Bruce Wayne and Alfred Pennyworth. Tony Stark and Jarvis, Roger Smith and Norman Berg, Integra Helsing and Walter Dornes. But I dare you to show me another antagonist duo like this. No, really, show me, because I would love to watch or read them. Santos replies it's not his scheme, and whoever arranged it, his top suspects are Damona, Macbeth, and Renard. And it's funny how he suspects Renard of retaliation all of a sudden, or of doing something that he might do. Xanatos might do, that is. And he says that they will pay most dearly. We rarely see Xanatos angry, but this is one of those times. In the chopper, the Merc confirms the mission's success with Severius. Oh, so that's what he had planned. Interesting. Severius turning on his boss? At the clock tower, Goliath and Brooklyn are back. So that was not Goliath on the parapet. Curiouser and curiouser. Pay the price. We've got a cargo chopper that's got the cargo. It's the same one that lifted, well, whoever it was, it's not Goliath, into it, and it's got this big shipping container between the landing gear, and it is heading off into the beautiful sunset toward the oil rig we saw at first there with Elisa driving by. On an old oil derrick off the coast, Severius takes delivery of the cargo container that holds Goliath, quote-unquote. He's got a tranquilizer gun. The Mercs are amused at the precautions taken for a statue, until said statue tears the door off and roars. Oh, wow. It's Goliath's twin, but his color is sort of inverted in some parts. He's got black skin, white hair, and his eyes are glowing red. And he is not happy. From what we've seen so far, we can assume this is one of Xanatos' pet projects, like the Eelcat bats, especially since Severius is involved. A clone, I'm assuming, though how it's full-grown, I don't know. And why is Severius stealing it? Surely he was behind its creation. Elisa, Broadway, and Lex are scouting the area where they saw Goliath's double, and they find a Genutech bracelet, like the ones we saw on the mutates in Metamorphosis. It's laying there like it wants to be found. How convenient. In the background is an oil rig. In Xanatos' throne room, David is waiting, staring at the phone. When it rings, Owen engages the trace. The caller wants $20 million in cash delivered by Xanatos to the Black Rock Point oil rig. He's to come alone, of course. The call ends 3 seconds short of a location lock. Perfect timing. Then there's the office there. That plant in the corner still looks out of place to me. It's like 6 feet tall. It doesn't match anything else in the room. Maybe you can turn into a robot or something. In the meantime, Owen has been Googling, or Yahooing, back then, who holds Black Rock Point. Xanatos is enthusiastically accusing cyberbiotics. For some strange reason, he's suspicious of them all of a sudden. Now, this is the second time in this episode he's mentioned his father-in-law's company. You'd almost think that somebody from House Xanatos had recently pulled a stunt with cyberbiotics. That would piss off the old man. Hey, Fox, I'm looking at you. Yeah, that was kind of a jerk move you pulled on your dad. Or that maybe Renard had met Goliath. Side note, it's rather interesting that Xanatos doesn't understand Renard any more than Renard understands him. Or Fox. Renard would never do what Severius is doing. One wonders if Vogel told Fox what happened with Goliath, or if Renard himself filled her in. Owen waits for his employer to finish, then drops the hammer. Xanatos Enterprises holds the lease. And there's Xanatos with one eyebrow cocked. Man, don't you just hate it when people buy oil rigs in your name? Well, that's unexpected to me, but Xanatos is not surprised. He and Owen know immediately it's Severius. Nobody else has access, he does, and the knowledge. I wouldn't even give Severius the freedom to buy printer paper for the office without my sign-off, much less purchasing power to buy an oil rig. David loads up the 20 mil. Does he have a bank vault in the building, like Scrooge McDuck, where he keeps $500 million or so in cash for a rainy day? Otherwise, he just cleaned out every ATM in town. Seriously, try and get a couple thou in cash from your bank. They probably won't have it. Severius is a great asset to XE, but this is going beyond even Xanatos' loose moral code. Hey, it's all good, man, till you cross House Xanatos. It's that simple. Time to make an example of the scientist, he says. You gotta wonder what David's planning. Severus can go to the cops anytime and spill the genetic beans about the mutates and whatever else the lab's been doing. This will get them both in hot water, but Severus can probably make a plea bargain. Maybe Severus would just disappear before he could do that, though. And what's this example business? What, is Santos going to send out a company-wide memo detailing how Severus stole a gargoyle clone and asked for ransom, and then how David went out and taught him a lesson? Yeah, sure. And there's Xanatos looking a bit irritated as he glares at his box full of cash. If this example means getting $20 million, I want to be made of an example of, too. Monster Maker Lab. At Genutech, Lex and Broadway are once again accessing the lab's computer system. Apparently nobody updated the password from Metamorphosis. Lex guesses to search for clone. Of course this works. Of course there are videos even narrated by Severus detailing everything about Thalog's creation. These videos are short enough to watch in a couple seconds and really get the whole picture. Lex looks really evil in this shot, and what the heck is on the screen? They don't even try with these computer pictures, the animators. Side note, the vid of Owen and Goliath, which we saw live at the episode's start, is filmed with the same cinematic camera angles as we saw. Amazing video editing, security people. Also, how many cameras were filming that parapet? Santos had the Thalog project, that's what it's called, Thalog, in the works while he was still in jail. Kind of interesting then that means he can program the Steel Clan to get up and draw blood if they need to, which, again, should make the Gargoyles really glad that Xanatos is who he is, rather than your typical villain. The first place he went after he got home from being released, and I mean the very same day, was Genutech. Hits the ground running, does this man. And we've got the dates printed on this black and white footage here. If I were Xanatos, I don't know if I'd want myself in every one of these clips. There he is standing there next to Severus looking at the project. What if somebody gets a hold of them? It's no crime to clone a gargoyle, but still, it could be used for bad publicity. Severus used a growth acceleration process, but it skewed Thalog's coloration. Okay, well, what else did it change, though, since usually genetics is responsible for coloring? Like dominant genes versus recessive. Basically, whenever David gets bored, he bops down to stare at his new toy, I guess, because there he is again on May 13th. Nothing to see here, amigo. It's no different from 5 minutes ago. Santos, for his part, personally developed a subliminal education program that taught, quote, his own unique slant on things, unquote. So think of the hypnopedic education the establishment used in Brave New World to brainwash kids basically since their artificial birth. Remember, they were raised in test tubes, and how smart they were was determined by the establishment. The hypnopedic education was like a recording that was played while they slept. And there's 8th of August, and Xanatos and Severus again, looking up at Thalog, who's still floating in his tank. Cloning tech has really come along if he can grow a gargoyle so quickly, less than 1 year, and easily. Severus really is a genius. I can't help but remember at this point that Xanatos is about to have a kid of his very own to train up in the way he should go. Well, let's hope he takes a different approach with little Xanatos. 1st of November. Oh, and there's Xanatos and Severus again. Santos has quite the smirk. But see how devilishly cunning and smug he looks? Been practicing that antagonist smirk in the mirror, I see. Out on the cliffs, the Gargoyles spot a small watercraft heading for the oil rig. Now, we say what they can't. It's Xanatos piloting it. Santos is rich enough to have a boat that actually starts the day you want to use it. Yeah, I have some experience with little boats. Halftime. I love this episode so much, I really do. Unlike many other series, Gargoyles doesn't have a comedic episode, other than maybe Vendetta. which it's okay, but certainly not my favorite. Double Jeopardy, though, comes close. Not in the plot. Oh no. It's a very dark, disturbing premise, but in the dialogue. That's the funny part. The air is thick with snark from everybody. But of course, the lines I'm literally laughing aloud at are from Owen and Santos, and Severius. Amusement aside, this is an intense, gloomy episode full of danger for everyone, protag and antag alike. It's rare that we see Xanatos in a bind or in any way not in control. He's usually the one taking the initiative and setting up the game board. He always plays the white side of the chess, meaning he makes the opening move. This time, though, he was relatively passive. Now he's playing catch-up with Severius? The doc is smart, but he's not exactly cunning. And what on earth is going on with the Goliath look-alike? And we know it's a clone, but still. Well, tune in next time, we'll find out. Santos and company are in for a surprise that may be fatal. So what do you think about this episode so far? Did you kind of suspect what was going on with the clone? Did you like that this was started a year ago? You can comment here or on the blog. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.